So, growing up in the church, you know, as a young man and aspiring to be all these things, as you kind of grow up, you go through puberty, you start to see kind of where you're going to fit in the world. I was a little confused by the messaging of Christianity when it came to manliness or manhood. I really was. Basically, I saw a disconnect from what I aspired to be, what I was kind of driven towards or called towards, the direction I was called in, and what Christianity, as it's boxed up, was presented to me as. This is the Warrior Podcast, episode 112. And I want to talk a little bit about how I was confused for a very long time on the messaging of Christianity when it came to manliness, manhood, masculinity. Now, this is a common problem today. I mean, let's be honest. If you turn on your news feed of any social media device, for the most part, you're going to run into some sort of debate about what is the role of masculinity, gender, identity. The world's confused. So I wasn't by myself, and my confusion is different than theirs. I knew I was a man. I knew that I was going to be masculine, and I was going to be driving headlong into manhood as a young man, but I didn't really understand quite what that was going to look like in line with what I believe to be true about God and the creation and purpose. So, not to get too crazy here, but basically, I was drawn towards like being a soldier or playing football or being big and strong, kind of a little bit rough, wanting to be out in the woods, not necessarily as a hunter, but just enjoyed all that kind of stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with hunting, of course. And then I saw what was being presented, attitude wise, was this very like nice and soft, very loving and accommodating and petting kind of messaging as far as what you needed to be a good Christian man, that you need to put to the side the competitiveness, the assertiveness, the aggressiveness that came with becoming more and more a man from a boy. And there was a disconnect. I wanted the two worlds to unify. I wanted them to come together, but they just, in my mind, they couldn't. And so after high school, I kind of abandoned not the faith from a belief standpoint, but a walking in it because it just didn't make sense with the things that I wanted, that I was pursuing, that I was drawn towards. You see, after high school, I joined the Marine Corps. I wanted to go be a warrior. I wanted to understand what that looked like. I wanted to explore that. I wanted that sense of kind of adventure and going out there and seeing what I was capable of. If I could overcome my fears, my frustrations, my desires to want to hide, but to step up and get into the fight, whatever that looks like in life. But that was in direct conflict with this messaging, like I said, that I was given coming up through the church and different, religious organizations and youth groups and things of that nature. It was always like singing Kumbaya and holding hands and being nice and never getting in arguments. And it just didn't line up. I think you know what I'm talking about. I think that I'm not the only one here. So for many years, I kind of abandoned that and kind of pursued what I felt I was drawn towards. I was being called towards. Well, naturally, Christ is calling out to me. My soul is calling out to me. The Spirit's calling out to me for me to know Him and to walk with Him and to be with Him. But in my mind, I had this bias. It's like, I want to. It just seems forced. It seems like it's not me. And I get the new creation thing. I'm not trying to run into theological tripwires here. What I'm saying is there was a disconnect. It didn't make sense. The messaging, I had to renew my mind. I didn't know that at the time, but I did. See, here's the thing. Here's the truth. They do line up perfectly. Perfectly. See, that forcedness that we feel like we have to undergo as men that are drawn towards masculinity, that are drawn towards manhood, that are drawn towards the things that are manly, that call out to you for you to walk in them, is one and the same. See, the thing is, in the church, it didn't make sense to me in the teachings. Even Jesus himself was very, yes, gentle, good, kind, but not nice, not political, not accommodating. He was very direct, very certain, very confident in his messaging, and what he was there to do, and what he was there not to do. I mean, this man stood before Pilate and basically said, "Do whatever you wish." I mean, knowing that he was staring death in the face. Abraham, Moses, Samson, Noah, all these guys were doing what I was talking about. The prophets. Yes, they went through their times of aloneness. Like David, he had a poet to him, but at the same time, he's a warrior. I got no problem with the poet. I got no problem with the softness. But where's the warrior? That was the church was missing that piece to me. The church messaging. And here's the thing. I know that different churches, different stuff, yada, yada, yada. Not my church. I get all that. But you know what I'm talking about. You know. Because it's a common problem everywhere. So what do we do about it? We get to know the true understanding of what it all is. We get rid of the forcedness. The Spirit will lead us into being kind and gentle, and also being direct and firm, to the point, confident. So we rely on the Spirit through God's word, not putting any filter of what we think culturally should be done there. That we've picked some person other than Christ and said, okay, let's make people look like this person. Because I'll be honest with you, I looked up in the altars or the podiums, and in front of my classes when I was a kid growing up, and I was like, these are not dudes that I want to be like. Matter of fact, not at all. And I don't mean to say that in a judgmental way. It was just like, it's just a disconnect. It just didn't make sense to me. I was like, they don't speak to me. But occasionally there was one. Occasionally there was a certain man that I would run into, whether he was a speaker or whatever, and that dude would inspire. That guy was like, him. But he seemed a little different. He seemed outside the box. But yet, man, I was like, that's it right there. All right, guys, you are a warrior designed for glory. God's glory, to be a warrior in all that encompasses. As always, if you like the content, like, share, tag someone, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll continue to put it out. God be with you. Peace.